When my ideal home was finished, I was ecstatic about the impending start of a new life. I looked around our new house and thought about how we would live there. I was excited because there were a lot of things I wanted to start over. My in-laws showed up out of the blue. They remarked, "What an unreasonable daughter-in-law you are. We're going to make this our permanent home. Transfer your parents to a different location." "What are you saying?" Confused, I asked my husband. However, he groaned and stated, "That's the truth. I'll let your folks know." Before I could respond, my in-laws came inside. I inhaled deeply before asking, "Do you understand whose house this is?" in a composed manner. "I go by Donna. I work for a corporation and am 35 years old. James and I have been wed for 5 years. Despite just being 4 years old, our son Adam behaves like an adult because he was reared among adults. Being a parent is difficult, but I am happiest when I am with my son. But there's one thing that worries me. My aging parents endure leg and back discomfort. I talked to my spouse about the potential of moving home with my parents after giving it a lot of thought. That certainly raises concerns. Rewarding them for all that they have done for you would be a fantastic idea. Additionally, James remarked, "I see no problem with it if it makes you feel secure, Donna." "That's excellent." "James, thank you," I answered. I was happy to have married someone who was so compassionate, as my husband quickly acknowledged. I took the initiative to start making arrangements for me and my parents to live together. However, things did not go smoothly. The location of my parents' home is far from the city center, in the suburbs. Living there would greatly complicate transportation. To make matters worse, we couldn't drive to my parents' place, which made life there difficult. Since our son was growing up at the time, it was not practical for our parents to move in with us, since we were renting a furnished apartment fit for a couple. That plan was not workable. I thought for a long time before I had an idea. "James, I've changed my mind. What if we constructed a bigger new home? Maybe this is the right time to act boldly." My spouse accepted the proposal right away after hearing it. "It's a really good concept. Together, let us construct a cozy home and make ourselves at home." With my husband's blessing, we started getting ready for the new home. We got in touch with my parents first. My folks responded awkwardly when we spoke. "Donna, we don't want to burden you and your family. Our existing house will soon feel too tiny as Adam gets bigger." I told my reluctant father, now is the right time to build a house, considering the future. At last, my parents agreed after seeing that we weren't just being kind. It relieved me to see them content. After that, despite our hectic schedules, my spouse and I made multiple trips to the real estate agent. My parents would find it convenient if there was a hospital nearby, and it would be great for work if there was a train station nearby. It was advised to create a barrier-free atmosphere because of my parents' mobility concerns. We held numerous meetings and looked over a number of options after taking this guidance. "As long as we are with you and your family, that's enough, Donna," my parents answered when I asked if they had any preferences. My spouse also offered a few recommendations, so it wasn't all up to me, and the plan went well. I became more excited as the plans took shape. Eventually, everything was ready thanks to my husband's ideas, the real estate agent's recommendations, and information from the internet. I then gave the contractors the orders. At last, every preparation was finished. It was actually quite labor-intensive. There were numerous demands and requirements. It was really difficult to prepare while working, but James's suggestions were quite beneficial. We felt a sense of success, even though we were worn out from practicing practically non-stop. We were able to get the perfect layout and location with the help of our time and efforts. Waiting for it to be finished was all that was left to do now. Although it took time, just thinking about our new home made me excited and boosted my motivation at work. During those exciting days, my in-laws, having heard about the new house plans, frequently contacted us. It's been a while. I heard from James that you are building a new house. Is that true? Yes, that's right. It's scheduled to be completed by the end of the year. Oh, that's exciting. James has become so respectable and we are so happy. We'd love to hear more about the new house. So if you have time, please come visit us. Oh, okay, was the phone call from my mother-in-law. Amid our busy schedule, we had been delaying visiting my husband's parents, so we decided to visit them over the weekend. Immediately, my in-laws welcomed us warmly. Building a house is hard, but it's a fun experience. A home of your own is a dream come true. Congratulations, my father-in-law said. He was as happy as if it were his own achievement. I was moved and smiled. Thank you. It was certainly tough, but we are really looking forward to it. I want it to be completed soon, but I'm worried about mistakes. Yet I'm thrilled about the new house. We were always excited and talked cheerfully. By the way, what's the layout like? Suddenly curious, my mother-in-law asked, clapping her hands. So, I showed the floor plan saved on my smartphone to my in-laws. It's quite a big house, isn't it? The number of rooms might be too many for just the two of you. My mother-in-law and father-in-law commented. We're considering living with Donna's parents. We also planned it to be spacious in case we have another child in the future. My husband replied. Surprised, my in-laws asked, You're going to live with Donna's parents? Yes, that's right. Donna's parents have been getting weaker, so we decided to live together. That's why we decided to buy a new house. I see, my mother-in-law said, noticing a change in the attitude of my father-in-law and mother-in-law. Thinking about it later, I realized that this topic might not be very appealing to them. So I decided to change the direction of the conversation. By the way, how have you both been feeling lately? Any changes? No, not really. Any problems? Yes, not much different from the last time we met. My in-laws answered like that. But when the conversation settled, we returned to the topic of the new house. But I want to know more about the new house. Which room will Donna's parents use? We're thinking about this area here, James answered honestly. However, when we talked about planning to live with my parents, my in-laws showed noticeable displeasure. They seemed dissatisfied with us prioritizing my parents. I felt a bit hesitant too, but there is no doubt that I prioritize my parents. The main reason for building the house is for them, and I hope my in-laws will understand that someday. However, it became clear that my in-laws were not that gracious. As time passed, the house steadily approached completion. Every time I visited the construction site, I eagerly awaited its completion while also spending busy moments paying attention to the details. My parents also visited the site several times, and I could see them filled with joy. Doing something for my family makes me realize again how rewarding it is for me, too. However, there was one thing that worried me. Recently, James had been keeping close contact with his parents. He had started visiting his parents' home every weekend. James, are you going to your parents' house this weekend, too? Yes, I am. You've been visiting more often recently. I'm trying to be a good son like you, Donna. Now that our new house's preparations have settled down, I should show my face during the holidays. That's nice. You're really kind, James. Maybe I should come along with you. Actually, I had some concerns about my in-laws. I was worried whether they felt neglected and if that had affected their health. I thought about helping out as well, not just leaving it to my husband. But he shook his head when I suggested it. I had my doubts about whether it was the right approach, but he said, I'm enough by myself, and went to his parents' house alone. I told him that if he needed any help, I would join him, so I believed he would call me someday. I sent him off that day. Finally, our new house was completed, and the moving day arrived. We loaded our things into the car and headed to our new home. The new house was more beautiful and grand than imagined. I was so moved that I gasped. The new house of my dreams was completed, and I was thrilled about the new life that was about to begin. While looking over our new home, I imagined our future life. There were many things I wanted to start anew, and I was excited. In the spacious garden, we could invite my in-laws for a barbecue, and my son and husband could play there. It seemed my parents were stuck in traffic, and it would take them a while to come over. "You go ahead and wait inside," James suggested, but I wanted to enter the house together with them. I was about to reply, "No, I'll wait here," when suddenly my in-laws' car arrived. Why were they visiting? As I stared in surprise, my in-laws got out of the car with bright smiles. "This house is really magnificent. This beautiful home is something to be proud of." "That's right. It's a perfect house, meticulously planned together with Donna." My husband cheerfully responded to his parents' comments. "Really? Donna's sense has indeed been wonderful," my mother-in-law admitted. "Thank you," I replied as my in-laws hotly threw out those words. After thanking them, they began unloading heavy luggage from the car. I approached my in-laws in surprise and asked, "Please wait. What are these bags for? What are you trying to do?" To my question, my in-laws gave a shocking reply. "What do you mean? Of course, we are bringing these bags into the new house." "What?" I gasped in astonishment. My mother-in-law sighed and responded, "What an unreasonable daughter-in-law. We are going to live here from now on. Move your parents somewhere else." "What are you saying?" I exclaimed in surprise. My mother-in-law shook her head in disbelief and crossed her arms arrogantly. Normally, a daughter-in-law should respect her husband's family. That's why it's only natural for us to live in this new house. "That's out of the question. Hurry up and contact your parents. We need to put our luggage down, and we don't have time to attend to you," my mother-in-law declared hotly. Struggling to understand, I looked to my husband for help, but he responded without changing his expression. "That's the reality. I'll tell your parents that." "Wait a minute. What are you talking about? We built this house to live with my parents. Please don't be so selfish," I protested. My husband sighed in frustration. "Ah, you still don't understand. You should just serve me. Your parents will manage somewhere else." I clenched my fists in anger. My husband was already influenced by his parents. Perhaps until then, his true nature was not apparent, and it has only just become clear. "Stop standing there. Come help with the bags," his parents ordered and confidently proceeded into the house, even though I am the owner and had yet to step into the house. Their unreasonable behavior infuriated me. Wonderful. The decorations are beautiful and luxurious, with faces filled with joy. My in-laws inspected every corner of the house. My anger reached its peak, and I said to them coldly, "Do you understand whose house this is?" What caught me off guard was that while they were in a good mood, my in-laws turned to face my question. "Whose house is this?" "James's house, of course. You think it's a shared property between husband and wife? Such a presumptuous thought is inappropriate. It's audacious for you to claim the new house for yourself when you're being looked after by James." Both my father-in-law and mother-in-law criticized me harshly without giving me a chance to argue. It became clear at that moment that my in-laws were unaware of our financial situation. It seemed James had not explained anything to them. It's unnatural for a house built by James to be shared with his wife. Really, such a presumptuous daughter-in-law is rare. I pity James for having a wife and in-laws like this. My in-laws did not cease their critical words based on their misunderstanding. Finally, reaching my limit, I stared in sure plea at my husband and his parents. "I understand your point. If it really comes down to you all living here, then I will need James to reimburse me for my investment in this house." At that, my in-laws tilted their heads in confusion. "How much money did you actually contribute? The amount you're talking about must be trivial. Why are you making such a big deal out of it?" They responded while bursting into laughter. I glanced at my husband, who remained silent, his mouth firmly shut. Filled with anger, I blurted out, "Why are you silent? You really have a lot of nerve. It's unbelievable that you would hide something so important." When pressed, my husband fidgeted and averted his gaze. At that moment, my mother-in-law intervened and demanded, "What are you trying to say?" My husband looked pale with fear. Realizing I couldn't expect an explanation from him, I decided to clarify myself. In fact, the funds for purchasing this house were all paid from my savings. Therefore, this house is technically mine. As I revealed this, I saw my husband's pale face. It was as if he had held his breath. I continued, "If you want to live here, you need to repay the $330,000 used to build this house immediately." My declaration shocked my in-laws, and they were left speechless. The next moment, they turned to my husband, pressing him in a panic. "James, is that true? Is Donna really the owner of this house?" Faced with their questions, my husband seemed to have no choice but to admit the truth. Looking slowly at my nodding husband, he explained, "Actually, Donna purchased this house. She is very capable and already holds a managerial position. Her salary is significantly higher than mine." "But James, you have been working at your current job for a long time, right?" "That's right. You graduated from a prestigious university. You should be earning a high salary," my in-laws insisted. My husband, having a high sense of pride, must have been spinning the story to suit himself. However, even he couldn't hide his disturbance under the relentless questioning from his parents. "Actually, I recently made a big mistake. I almost got fired, and my salary dropped to the level of a new graduate," my husband finally confessed. Shocked by this revelation, his parents were left speechless. "I can't believe that James would end up like this," my mother-in-law murmured softly. My in-laws quickly ran over to me. Their previous rude behavior seemed like a lie, and they apologized profusely. "Donna, we are truly sorry for what we said earlier," my in-law said. "Please, we apologize. Could you possibly allow us to stay here?" As I looked at them sternly, they both pleaded at once. Seeing this, my husband also became desperate and pleaded, "Please, it was wrong of me not to explain. Can you forgive us and allow us to live here?" Responding with a calm voice beyond anger, I said, "No matter what you say now, I cannot forgive you. This house was purchased to live with my parents. If that cannot be fulfilled, there is no point in buying it. If you insist on staying here, you must immediately pay $330,000. "How can we possibly come up with such a huge sum?" my in-laws responded. "Then you must leave," I stated firmly. When I refused, my in-laws began to cry and clung to me. "Please don't say such things. We've sold our home and have nowhere else to go. Donna, please forgive us. Please allow us to live here with your parents, too." Unbelievable. A household where a couple lives with both sets of parents is unheard of. No matter the reason, it's impossible. If you've sold your house, you should use the proceeds to find another place to live. As I declared this while looking down on them, they began to cry simultaneously. My father-in-law pleaded with a trembling voice, "To tell the truth, I've recently made huge debts through investments and gambling. We've used up the proceeds from the sold house and the retirement money, and now we have absolutely nothing left. We're retired, can't find work, and my wife has never worked outside the home. You're all we have left, Donna." Their expectations were clear, but this situation stemmed entirely from my father-in-law's actions and has nothing to do with me. "You should rely on your proud son. I have no obligation to support you financially, so unfortunately, I cannot help. However, we are legally a family. Remember that regrettably, it is impossible to continue living with disrespectful parents, and a husband who neither prevents illegal occupation of my property nor stops demanding it. Therefore, I have decided to divorce James. At my firm declaration, my husband weakly pleaded, "Wait a minute. Divorce isn't something you can just decide like that. Please don't say such things, Donna. I'm sorry, but I've reached my limit. Please leave this house immediately." Faced with the possibility of divorce, my husband was clearly shaken. Along with his parents, he repeatedly pleaded, but my decision was firm. I cannot tolerate them staying in our house without permission for an extended period. If you continue to stay, I will call the police. My firm declaration made my in-laws choose to leave the house hastily. Nevertheless, my husband argued, "Legally, I am still your husband and have a right to reside here." But I could not accept his claim. "If you continue to stay here, I am prepared to take legal action and have you removed. Are you really okay with that?" During this conversation, our son, who had been napping, woke up and entered the room. Then he unexpectedly said, "If it goes to court, Dad will be in a really tough situation." Hearing our son's innocent remark, my husband must have felt even more anxiety and desperation. Already at risk of being fired due to mistakes at work, the potential of getting involved in a legal battle greatly increases his chances of dismissal. Quickly grasping this harsh reality, my husband, with a pained expression, hurriedly gathered his belongings and quietly left the house. Just after that, my parents arrived for a visit. Noticing that my husband was nowhere to be seen, my parents were initially shocked. As I explained everything that had happened, they gradually showed warm smiles and expressed their gratitude. "You've stood up so strongly for yourself. Thank you. We're proud of you. You are a wonderful daughter," they said. Hearing their words, I felt a release from the anxiety I had been carrying for a long time and finally regained peace of mind. I had hoped that my husband would understand and accept the situation, but that was a wish unfulfilled. Perhaps escaping from a family that belittled me before things escalated further was actually a stroke of good fortune. The in-laws who had insulted me called repeatedly a week after I drove them out, but I decided not to respond to any of their attempts. According to some information, after losing their home, my in-laws are barely surviving in a poor-quality apartment. My marriage to my spouse eventually came to an end, and the divorce was sealed. He was transferred to a new area and is currently leading a difficult new life as a result of his employment failures. Meanwhile, I'm genuinely thrilled every time I see my folks basking in the sun in our large new backyard. Even though things didn't go as planned, as a single mother, we are content and tranquil in this lovely home. I'm starting over, and I firmly believe that this stress-free setting will be far superior to co-parenting with my former spouse for raising my child. I'm determined to put in all effort till my son matures into a respectable adult.